When most people think of Florida, they probably imagine wetlands and beaches. But there's a lot more going on there than most people realize. Florida started as this dream of paradise, and it's interesting to see what has become of the middle of the state.
There's nothing more destructive to the earth and environment than mining phosphate.
This isn't the place to put a phosphate mine. You don't put mines near neighborhoods.
They can't stop us from mining.
I had no clue that my hometown was so important for so long when it came to phosphate mining.
Well, I was born here on this property in 1933. My father owned it, and my grandfather owned it before him. Well, I had a hard time determining whether I would mine this property or not. This county and the adjoining county that this phosphate's in is poor counties. And I came to the conclusion that we would work roughly 200 people in this process. A tremendous economic impact on these two counties. That is the only reason I decided to phosphate this land.
Jack Hazen owns a bunch of land in Bradford County, really beautiful, lots of oak trees and grazing cattle, and he has a lot of phosphate on his land, and he wants to mine it.
Last of this month, we're turning bulls out with the cows.
Were those the loud bulls who were yelping earlier?
And them was back yonder's the one that was hollering.
Okay.
There won't be anything mined beyond that pine timber. Mm-hmm. What we are mining is what you see, land like what you see here, and putting it back in production. Phosphate is an essential, I don't know where you couldn't classify it as a vitamin, I guess a mineral that you have got to have to sustain life. No life can exist without phosphate.
From Florida's moon port at Cape Kennedy, space-age explorers have been reaching out, looking for keys to a better future for man. Meanwhile, we already know that here in Florida, we have one of the most important of all the elements needed to sustain life on Earth. Its name is phosphorus.
Phosphorus is an element. When you combine phosphorus with oxygen, that becomes phosphate. It's very beneficial for plant growth. It's ubiquitous in fertilizer. Agriculture production in the United States couldn't exist without these phosphate fertilizers. We're dependent on phosphate. It's mined by finding these areas where there's phosphate in the rock. It's very much like oil exploration because there is a limit to how much phosphate is on the earth. There's a limit to who has the best phosphate resources.
Nobody wants a phosphate mine here.
Why?
Well, you've got the dust. I guess you could call it radioactive dust because the radon and whatever else is found in the ore where the phosphate is found. My 4-year-old has asthma, and I'm 100 yards away from the proposed property. So it's like, you know, I can't do with the dust because my daughter.
Hazen's proposed mine includes land owned by 4 families spread across Bradford County and Union County. Some neighborhoods in Union County are completely surrounded by proposed mining areas.
But now we're getting into at this dirt road here that cuts through the center of some of the mining property. That's part of the proposed mining property owned by the Pritchett family back there. Yeah, and on that side there. It's close. It's very close to people's homes. Between the end of that house and the fence, maybe 5 feet, 10 feet. And the cemetery's back here. And all of this is landlocked. I mean, my grandfather and my uncle are buried out here, and I don't want to look around and see 360 degrees around their grave. They phosphate mine.
Is this a family plot?
Yes, it's a family plot. Okay. Yeah, it's a family plot. I don't think everybody in the family will choose to be buried here. Mm-hmm.
I love the river, and I don't want to see it destroyed. I live on the river, and what happens in Bradford and Union County will affect my river, could affect my river.
A small river runs right through the land that they want to mine, and that little river dumps into the Santa Fe River.
I think it was 1997, they had a spill on the north shore of the Alafai River. The spill killed millions of fish, wildlife, crabs.
In 1997, 50 million gallons of wastewater from a phosphate fertilizer plant spilled into the Alafai River. That sort of wastewater is almost as acidic as battery acid, and it killed almost everything, more than 1 million fish for 50 miles downstream.
If they had an accident such as that in Bradford County, Union County, it'd come down here and ruin this river, at least for decades. And they'll say, we're sorry, we didn't mean to, but my river's gone. It's not their river, it's everybody's river.
That spill happened in a place called Polk County, which is where I grew up, actually.
This is Polk County, geographic and population center of fabulous, sunny Florida. Polk County leads the world in the production of phosphate. Polk County alone produces more than 70% of the phosphate mined in the United States. Polk is truly an imperial county, a cosmopolitan population, thriving industries with many job opportunities, all symbols of good living in imperial Polk County.
Polk County is located in central Florida, right between Tampa and Orlando, and it's a largely rural county. The biggest city in Polk County is Lakeland, my hometown, but the rest of the places are really small. There's a big focus on like church and family. The phosphate mining industry has its fingers in so many things in Polk County, and I just was completely blind to it. If you really want to see what the phosphate industry has done to the land in central Florida, you have to get up in the air.
Just give it a good whack, it's unlocked. There you go. All right, all clear.
Laura, all those rectangular water forms off to the right, those are all related to the mines.
This looks like a berm under us.
Yeah, this
right?
this waterway is all mined.
And there's a little boat ramp there and some boats in here.
Yeah, they fish. They call it pit fishing.
When I saw the phosphate mines from above Polk County when we were in that plane, I was really taken aback by how it just looks like, I don't know, a giant claw is like just gashed into the earth over and over again.
And here's the fertilizer plant, aka the acid plant.
Phosphogypsum stacks, also known as gypstacks, are mountains of waste left over from fertilizer production. And some of that waste is radon and uranium. The Environmental Protection Agency says it's too radioactive to be buried, so it's piled in these stacks. There are 25 of these things in Florida, and they are some of the highest points in the state.
And here we are at the sinkhole, Laura.
Yeah, that's the sinkhole.
There's your sinkhole. Wow. And down into hell.
In August of 2016, this huge sinkhole opened up on a gypstack, and hundreds of millions of gallons of wastewater drained right into the aquifer. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time this has happened. Another sinkhole opened up on top of this same gypstack in 2004. The company responsible for the sinkhole spill is called Mosaic.
I've been here since June of 2004, but I moved out about 5 months ago because I can't even take a shower. The water is so putrid, it smells like kerosene. The water comes from the well, and Mosaic, of course, is 5-6 miles that way, and all the water flows this way. 2 weeks after the sinkhole happened, there was an episode where I had to hit the shower door to get out. I felt like I was in a gas chamber, is the only thing I can explain, and literally retching. Mosaic said they contained it, they pumped all the water out, but how could they have pumped all of that out when it went into the aquifer? I was deciding what I'm going to do with the house. I got an estimate for a water purification system that's $15,000, and it's enough to handle my household and the horses. And it would take up a complete stall, it's so big. But, you know, the guy said, one thing's for sure, the water's not going to get any better.
Jack Hazen is well aware of these incidents in Polk County. He says that his company, HPS Enterprises, will be different.
I'm telling you, this is a clean operation. And of course, these environmentalists, they fight this stuff, but they lose.
I mean, they're the 4 richest families in our area that own this property and want to put this mine in. And a lot of us, we're just regular people, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. It's intimidating because they can afford these really expensive attorneys and only God knows what else.
And you can nix off any of these you want to talk about. But the number one thing I think that needs to happen is you guys need to set up an appointment to see your commissioners privately, like they've been doing. In Union County, the family that owns HPS has been going in with each separate commissioner and having a private meeting with them.
What commissioner should we approach? All of them.
So as passionate as these two sides are about this particular issue, the people who actually make the decision here are the county commissioners of Bradford and Union counties.
I heard Mr. Hazen told you not to listen to us because we are activists and outsiders. That's what he said. I quote him. I heard that on that transcript. We live here too.
Building mines next to our residences will make our properties worthless and will nullify the investment so many of us have spent our whole lives working towards.
Nobody wants it. Your people don't want it. The people that elected you don't want it.
Despite the public outcry, Bradford County commissioners recently voted to hire a consultant to advise them on how to proceed with the mining permit.
All right, all in favor of hiring, let it known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I'm very concerned that the Bradford County Commission will eventually accept the application from HPS. I know some of the commissioners feel that this will bring jobs and money to the county. Education is the most important thing we can do to tell the people what the threat is. This will destroy Bradford County. It will destroy its attraction as a rural paradise, so to speak.
What will you do if they do start mining or they get the permits to do so?
I'd probably move. I cannot, if they get the permits and they start mining across the street for me, I cannot in good conscience keep my children that close.
They can't stop us from mining because we got property rights. And you can't give them up just because somebody says that we're not going to let you mine. Well, you don't really understand. You don't govern what I can do with my land. When we get to where somebody's governing what I can do with my land, we in bad shape in this country.
A few public servants in North Florida will soon have to determine whether one man's property rights outweigh the concerns of an entire community. One thing's for sure, we need phosphate, and those gypstacks near my hometown are going to get even higher.